You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, a fair bit happening today. You might have noticed that the Hawthorn Football Club have been in the news because there's a compensation payout for, some alleged racism that happened. And so I tell you who's going to jump on the line in his car. We're going to get the ex-president, Jeff Kennett, ex-premier. I hope he is. He said he'd ring in and he can tell us what he thinks. I'll tell you what I think. I think that this is another thing that the AFL under the former administration has absolutely stuffed up. They have a lot to answer for, the other administration before. And what's the new AFL boss's name? Andrew Dillon? Is it Andrew Dillon?
Andrew Dillon.
Andrew Dillon. Let's hope he takes the AFL to a different level of competence and integrity as opposed to the former administration who, if you have a look at it, stuffed up more things in a day's march than you've had hot dinners.
He wouldn't think that, though.
Of course he wouldn't. But it started off when they went to us, this podcast, for vilification over Nicky Widmer. That's when it started, and they tried to placate their own white supremacy by having a go at us, the most disgraceful action ever taken, and they forever will be condemned for that. But, and I see now someone has said all the do-gooders, they said that the AFL should now weigh in on the Israeli-Arab-Palestine war. Someone has said that. This is my whole point about the AFL, who get involved in all these political campaigns, the Yes campaign, the gay marriage campaign, the vilification, the racism, the welcome to country. What in God's name would the AFL get involved in making a statement? Mind you, they haven't yet. And if Andrew Dillon comes out and makes a statement about what's going on over in that side of the world, fair dinkum, could they get the game right first?
I can't see him putting his hand up.
No. Well, what press and what people,
they won't do it.
What dribblers, what bedwetters would actually encourage the AFL to get involved in making a statement about that, Susan?
No comment.
Seriously. So, Ivan, just before we get on to much more serious things, well, not much more serious things. You're going to have a leap of faith. You're going over actually to where the war's going next week, aren't you?
That's right. In about a week and a half.
Yeah, you're going over to Egypt.
Yeah. You're going to repatriation flights coming back to here, so I thought I'd backload back over to there.
You're going to sail down the Nile.
Yep, should be a bit of fun.
Go
hopefully
to the Valley of the Kings.
Yep.
And see if you can dodge the Hezbollah Hamas rockets while Israel fire a couple over the top of your head, you and your missus.
Yep.
It should be exciting.
That's right.
Don't worry about going and see the Valley of the Kings. Just see if you can jump out of the way of the Scuds. Have you thought that that's a good thing to do, Ivan? Have you?
Oh, I haven't thought too much about it.
No, I'd get home tonight and give it some serious thought.
Turn the news on, do you think? It might scare the pants off me. No. As long as the insurance is paid up.
Oh, well, that's handy.
That's the main thing. As long as the family gets paid out.
Yeah, that's right. So if they bring you back in a box, at least someone's going to get some money out of you.
Yeah.
Oh, now that's exciting. I'm not sure.
So this is the warm-up lap. Next week's the last one, and then I'm not sure we're missing a person here or.
So what we were trying to do here is Jeff Kennett said he'd ring in, and we're going to just find out about Hawthorn, but we thought we might do some lighter topics just to start with. First of all, we'll say I did notice that the Aboriginals, and this is a lighter topic, not really lighter, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and they cannot agree on how to respond to the no vote, which is exactly the point of all this. If they can't work out how to respond to the no vote, that's what all this is about.
Are they talking now? I thought they had a silence. Was it just a week?
I think they were writing things down. I don't think they were verbally speaking. Let's hope they don't verbally speak ever again. But they couldn't agree on how to respond to the no vote, which is exactly what we're on about. They can't agree on anything. So, and I notice, and I noticed the flags were half-mast, half-staff going over the Westgate Bridge the other day. That was a week after the no vote, and I did mention to the person who I was driving with, I said, would they be down there, would their flags be half-mast, the Australian flag and the Aboriginal flag? Why there's two, I don't know, but they were at half-mast. Would they be in protest or sadness for the no vote winning? And the person I was with, Susan, said it might have been because that happened to be the 53rd anniversary of the bridge collapsing in 1970. So you would think you'd hardly lower the flags for the 53rd anniversary, would you? Or do they do it every year, every time the date comes up that the bridge collapsed, that they lower the flags?
I'm not too sure about that.
No, why would you do that? Why would you? Well, in respect to the people who lost their lives, the 35 odd people that lost their lives, but I've never known them come down every year at that time, so maybe we're all trying to fall over ourselves to apologise for the no vote getting up.
So just a coincidence that they were down, while everyone was upset.
Yeah, so that's now. We'll just do this to start with because there's some very interesting people listen to this show. A lot of people listen to this show. And we're going to just call out, just to start with, I know the doc from Sydney says don't do this at the start, but we're trying to fill in time till Jeff rings in because we don't want to get into heavy subjects. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Sue, Stanley and Ivan, whose name's not Ivan, but I call him Ivan because...
No, there was Don.
Yeah.
Thanks, Don.
They said the world's, this is a light, there's a point of saying this. The oldest dog in the world has just died. It was 31. In dog years or in human years, that's 210. So my point is, who said that a dog year was 7 times a human year? How can a dog live to 210?
Well, isn't it 1 dog year is equal to 7 years? So obviously,
that's what I said.
Yeah, but a dog would last roughly 12, 13, 14 years. So if you equivalent that out to human years, it's like 1 in 7. So that's the average age of a dog.
So if a dog is 10 years old and it's equivalent of 7 human years, that's 70, right?
Correct.
So if it's 15... 7 times 15 is, what is that, 100? What's it, 7 times 15? What?
105.
Right, so that's pretty old for a human can live to 105.
Yes.
This dog was 31, has lived to 210. So my point is, who said a dog year was 7, a dog year was equivalent to 7 human years? They've just made that up.
No,
who
they
said
haven't.
that?
It's obviously had a very good life. I mean, a dog...
For 210. What, has been sniffing other dogs' asses and pissing on things
his
and
name was Yoda
eating
or something.
crap and eating shit out on the streets.
What was the dog? What type of dog was it? Do we know?
Well, it was more like a
dog?
No, it was a cattle dog. It was a medium-sized dog.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a small poodle or anything like that. It was a
So
medium.
they're just smothered. And who said? That's like when they say fish are colourblind or how in the hell do you know that? How you comes up with that stuff?
It's like the sheep. What are they thinking?
Who said they think? What are they thinking? No, but they say something can't. Oh, they say a dog can smell is 100 times more sensitive than a human. No, who said bears and polar bears can smell seals from 10 miles away? Who said that?
I guess-
I could smell a seal from 10 miles away if it's rotted and the wind's blowing my way.
Some universities just got a lot of money to do some type of research
That's exactly
to find
the
out.
point. So I'm disputing that a dog year is
Disputing it,
7.
are you?
Well, If they say a dog's lived to 210...
What, you don't believe it?
Absolutely don't believe it.
Don't believe it?
No. There's no... How can a dog live to 210 human years?
Well, maybe it was maybe 5 years in that breed. It could have been just a little bit less than 7 years.
What? No, that's...
They could have just got the calculation a little bit wrong.
Dog year. I reckon they're just about the way they... what they eat and the way they... I reckon they're just about the equivalent to a human year. I don't think there's a difference between 7.
What would you be in dog years now?
Dog years... I'd be
nearly ready to be put down.
7.
490.
No, in dog years. No, in dog years, you idiot. I go back. I don't go up.
Oh, okay. You want to go that way?
Well, what do you mean?
You're 10 years old then.
That's right.
Already.
11.14.
Yeah,
to be
that's right.
exact.
I'm a dog of 11 years old. That's right.
When you start scratching behind your ear, we'll be a bit concerned.
You're a bit of a woofer, see? How old are you, dog years? Speaking of woofers, I noticed the Grand Prix, the MotoGP, was a fantastic race down at Phillip Island. Absolutely brilliant race, and they had grid girls. The grid girls were back.
No.
They had grid girls.
Seriously?
I missed that. Yeah.
I think I saw that. Well, they must, unless they showed a race previous in Spain where they had the grid girls. And that's how I got into a...
well, yes, you're right. Overseas they do.
That's how I got into a conflict. I didn't get into it. With Miss Swan, who said I was the worst interview she'd had on the radio because I brought up the grid girls. And when I looked at the grid girls, I can well see why she got pesky about... grid girls, because I imagined Chris Swan standing in front of a motorbike with an umbrella over one of their heads. Imagine that. That's why they put good-looking people in front of bikes, just to add to the glamour and colour and movement, as opposed to other people who they might put in front of bikes.
But it's not illegal around the world, so obviously they have it at other. It's not illegal in the actual. It's just here in Australia.
It's just pathetic woke bullshit by people who are generally depressed and unhappy with themselves, not wanting other people who aren't depressed and look quite aesthetically pleasing, don't want them to steal the limelight for some reason. They should stay in their own lane and become doctors and nuclear physicists and do whatever they want to and eat themselves into oblivion, and let those people who look after themselves get a living and earn a living by doing what they do best, and that's looking good. Well, how could that possibly be? How could you possibly say that that's politically incorrect?
A few years ago, the Formula One, they tried to outlaw the grid girls, so they went to grid boys, if you remember that, in Monaco. That's a few years ago. Then they did the grid kids, and I think they still do that today.
I think they also did it in the boxing. They actually, instead of the girls that do the rounds, they actually had males. But I think they went back to the women.
How pathetic, because people just see through this nonsense. It's just... You are either a male or a female, and you have certain talents if you're a female and certain talents if you're a male.
You had to get back onto that topic, didn't you?
Well,
we talk about grid people.
Well, honestly, and you said Monaco. Why do people say Monaco? Who said it's Monaco?
What do you
This is a bit like
Monaco?
dog years. Monaco.
Right.
Well,
how do you say Brighton?
Brighton. Or how do you say the Nepean Highway? It could be Nepean. Now,
what about Riddles Creek?
Exactly, Riddles Creek. It's actually Riddell's Creek.
It's not, it's Riddles.
It's not the man...
It's what you want to say it.
Hang on. No, it's not.
That's what they do.
No, bullshit, Ivan. You looked up the man that Riddell's Creek was named after. His name was Riddell. He says how his name is pronounced. So if you're going to name a creek after someone whose name is Riddell, it wouldn't be Riddle's Creek, it'd be Riddell's Creek, wouldn't it?
But if you
you're probably onto something there.
If you do the Google search on the speech, it says Riddle's Creek, but then when you the name of who it came from, it goes Riddell.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the man's name is Riddell and they name a creek after him, how would you possibly get Riddles Creek? It's just...
Well, we all know it as Riddles Creek, though.
No, because we're ignorant. I'm not saying you're ignorant, but
thank you.
It's become common usage because people are illiterate.
No, well, one thing from living all around the country here, different states have different sort of languages, you could almost say.
Pronunciations.
Coogee in Sydney
is... Coogee?
No, sorry. Coogee in Western Australia is Coogee. Spelt the same?
Yes.
There's one that I tripped over when I first lived in Fremantle in WA. There's the Shire of Coburn, apparently it's called, but it's spelt Cockburn.
Yeah, that's right, and they call them Coach and Cock and Co, and if your name is C-O-C-K, you're Cock.
You're not Co.
Well, of course you're not, because no one wants to be called a cock, do they?
But what about all the silent letters? What about all the silent letters? See, the K is silent, so...
The K is silent, cock.
Yeah.
Well, why is it silent? Oh, knock.
Coburn.
So the K is silent in knock.
Correct.
K-N-O-C-K.
Absolutely.
But of course, that's the vagaries of the English language. I'll give you another one. How do you...
Oh, this is right up your alley now, isn't it?
Well, because I spoke to someone who was the envoy, or he was an official position, being appointed as the official ambassador or in a position in Monaco, and I said, "How do you pronounce he said, "It's Monaco. It's and I said, "Well, why do people say Monaco?" Because they think it's sort of, as soon as it's trendy to say it. Well, tell me, what about the West Indies and all those islands out there that start with C? Caribbean or Caribbean? And everyone says Caribbean. Now, how it's Caribbean? The Caribbean islands and Monaco. They're the pronunciations that are correct. And people say, "Oh, no, you're wrong." Well,
Maldives?
Maldives? Yeah.
Maldives?
Yeah, good on you.
We can just keep going.
No, but and that's the man from Riddles Creek. Oh, seriously, Riddell. If he pronounces his name Riddell, that's how his creek should be named.
When's Jeffrey calling in? 9 o'clock.
Well, whenever he's available. He said he'd call in, so he mightn't call in at all. He might think twice about it. Now, can I just? I don't want to make this about me, but this is the problem with people who scam you on various platforms, and people who the AI, the artificial intelligence. So there's someone purporting to be me called Sam Newman on is it a www website?
It's a URL, a domain name. So someone's got the domain name samnewman.com.au.
And they say that I have set up I've set up an account to GoFundMe for Black Lives Matter, and I'm signalling for people to donate to Black Lives Matter.
Do you think some of the listeners would think that's a scam straight away?
Well, and some of the people who don't listen to this would say, "Oh, here's a bloke," and they'd look who I am, and they'd say, "Oh, I'm not saying I'm prominent, but I've been in the news, I've been on a television show, and I've been a footballer, and here's a bloke who's getting behind Black Lives Matter." Could I say for the record, Black Lives Matter is a disgraceful, dishonest, bogus organisation. It was started after George Floyd, that piece of shit, and that's got nothing to do with his race. He was a piece of shit. He was killed by a policeman who's now in jail for probably the rest of his life. But they made boulevards and they made parks. They named it after him. They named it after him, a person who was a disgrace. And that's how Black Lives Matter started, and then it swept into Australia. And I remember at the start of a football game one season, all the players held hands in the middle of the ground in a circle and nodded and bowed their heads in reverence to Black Lives Matter. They are a domestic terror organisation. They are bogus and they are a hoax. And if you donate 1 cent to that group, you should be certified as insane.
But I do think it's a scam because I actually went to the GoFundMe page and you can't find the Black Lives Matter area on there. So they've obviously set up a scam page of GoFundMe. However, if you go to report it, you've got to put the URL in for GoFundMe to actually, but it doesn't exist. So how do you report it? So
well, you showed it to me and I
on the
looked
line.
it up and it's got my name and Black Lives Matter and we're helping.
It doesn't say how much money has been raised and all that. So there are a couple of little tweaks that I noticed, but it was only because I was alerted to it. But yeah.
They're a completely dishonest organisation set up to honour someone who was just a career criminal. Why would you do that? Now here's where we Mark Knight, who's been on this program, who's a fantastic parody cartoonist, a cartoonist, caricaturist. Well done, a caricaturist. That's the exact word because he does caricature pictures of people, and he accentuates their abnormalities.
Features,
If you have a big nose,
big ears,
makes it bigger. If he used to do it with John Elliott, he used to do it with me. He used to do it with everyone, and he got into trouble once because he portrayed Venus or.
Oh, that's right, Serena
Williams as with the fuzzy hair
when she lost the plot. At the
that's right.
Aussie Open.
It was fantastic, and he does it with everyone. And I see he's done one now. He's got into trouble. Well, he hasn't got into trouble. Now here's Jeff Kennett. Now here we go. So put your headphones on. So do that. So just righto. Can you hear us?
Good morning, Samuel. Now, can you hear me clearly?
Absolutely. Yes. So we were just having a chat about Mark Knight and how he's got into trouble with Jacinda Allen, but you have saved the day because I appreciate you ringing in. Now, we saw in the news today the extraordinary, I haven't got across it, but the extraordinary decision that someone's going to get paid out. Clarkson, Fagan, the people who made the false claims, everyone's getting money out of something that's happened at Hawthorn. What do you make of it?
Well, I think the first thing is to establish whether the AFL have actually made that claim of the Hawthorn Football Club. So I have this morning sent a message to Andrew Dillon, CEO of the AFL, and to the Hawthorn Football Club to establish whether the AFL has made that claim. First point. Secondly, if they have, then they have clearly given that story to Carolyn Wilson to cause damage, which is totally unacceptable. But again, we've got to establish the facts. Let us go to the substance of the argument. Hawthorn had a story written about them that indicated there was an issue with an ex-player in terms of the way he was treated at the Hawthorn Football Club. The Hawthorn board, therefore, wanted to establish whether the claims that individual made were one-off or widespread. We were doing what any employer would do if, in fact, they'd had reported to them issues of racism, sexual abuse, bullying, or any other such matter. That is what is required in a good workplace. We employed an individual who had been employed by the AFL to do a truth-telling exercise among all current and former Indigenous players and staff members. That report came back to us. We were shocked by what we read.
Why?
Because some of the allegations were just so
disgraceful.
Yes. But we had to make sure that then we followed both AFL procedures, and that entailed us telling the AFL that we'd received the report and showed the contents to AFL personnel. We then immediately handed it over to AFL Integrity so that they could, with us, go about trying to establish whether there was any truth in the accusations contained in that truth-telling report. Before the AFL Integrity could start that process, family members of those who made the allegations leaked the stories to the ABC, and that started a firestorm because it not only referred to the allegations, but it referred to the 3 individual former coaches of Hawthorn who were named in the report against whom the allegations were made.
Namely Mr. Clarkson and Mr. Fagan.
And Mr. Burt. So there were 3.
Yep.
So Hawthorn did what was required to try and establish whether there was any other issues with any other players. We handed the report when we got it to AFL Integrity for them to actually try and ascertain the correctness or otherwise. The report was leaked to the paper. That started the firestorm. Now the AFL may be saying to Hawthorn, you've brought the game into disrepute. Well, how have we brought the game into disrepute? We've tried to establish the truth. We handed the report to the AFL when we received it immediately to establish whether there was any truth in the claims or otherwise. If any claims are going to be made, it should be made against those who leaked the report. But of course, I don't know who those people are, and nor does the AFL. And in fact, the former CEO of the AFL came to my office one morning and said, look, the only reason we're pursuing this, that is the argument that Hawthorn's brought the game into disrepute, is because we want to try and establish who's leaked the report. And I said to him, Gil, there's no way. I've been involved in politics for a long way. It's very hard to establish beyond doubt who's leaked the report. I don't think you're going to do it. And the whole matter then died away. So I don't know why the AFL has now raised the matter again, if in fact they have, and I suspect they have because Carolyn Wilson often receives material directly from the AFL.
Yeah, and so, as I understand it, the whole investigation boiled down to a 4-page document, didn't it, that said that...
No. That was on the rumour file this morning, and I've tried to correct it.
Good.
The report that Binmada, that is the organisation we employed to do the truth-telling exercise, had a report of 10 days with 10 pages at least with appendices. It was a very long report, right?
Yep.
It was not 4 pages.
Good.
What is interesting, that after the leaking of the report and the naming of the 3, Bill McLaughlin established an inquiry, a 4-person inquiry to investigate the claims. He then wound it up without the inquiry or the panel making any report. But when he rounded up, he said there were no charges being levelled against the 3 former members of Hawthorn, Clarkson, Fagan and Burt. So if there was no substance, if those 3 were not in any way found to have acted in the way the allegations were, then it must have also found that the allegations were without substance.
So this is another ham-fisted investigation by the previous administration.
Well, I don't know, but it's madness. It's just crazy because which club is going to try and examine practices that may be unacceptable in the way we've tried to find out the truth about claims that were made, if in fact you're then going to be held to account by the AFL and having it argued that you brought the game into disrepute.
So is it true that everyone will be a winner? This was that Clarkson and Fagan and Burt will get compensated. The people who made the false claims are going to get some financial payout. Is it how everyone seems to be a winner here, even the people that made these false claims, and who is going to pay them?
Well, I don't know. This is why I have sent out messages this morning to find out whether the AFL have actually made these demands of the Hawthorn Football Club. Because it's a disgrace to think that if you've done the right thing, you're going to be penalised by a body that doesn't answer to anyone else. And you're going to pay not only the people who are accused, you're going to pay the people who have made the allegation. It just doesn't make sense. And it does... I can't believe that the AFL are that bloody stupid, to be quite honest. But, anything's possible.
And the very fact that the Clarkson and Fagan and Burke, if you like, have had their character assassinated for an ongoing campaign by the people who write these stories, and you know who they are, that is the greatest disgrace that those people have had to actually have go into some sort of form of depression and had to withdraw from the game because of character assassinations which were unfounded.
That is correct, but worse than that, and I feel very sorry for them and their families, but the Hawthorn didn't cause that.
No.
That was caused by the families who made the allegations, who leaked the report before the allegations could be tested. And been told that these were false claims. Well, that's what Gil McLaughlin inferred, because he said there was no charges against the three individuals when he wound up the four-man inquiry. So if the three men were found not guilty, then it was obviously an extension of that was that the claims made were baseless.
So what would you hope go on.
Well, I would hope that the AFL today...
The new administration, Mr. Dillon, what would you hope he does in his first minute in the office?
He's been in for a while now.
No, but I mean that, yep.
Yep. I hope that they come out today publicly and said Hawthorn Football Club did what any good employer would do when allegations are made of bad practices. They sought to establish the truth. And the process they went through was in accordance with the AFL rules. We will not be making any further claims against the Hawthorn Football Club, and we would encourage any club or organisation where they suspected that there were practices being conducted that were not acceptable by today's standards would continue to investigate them to the best of their ability.
And if it has been found that someone should be compensated, like the people who made the false claims and the principals involved who we've mentioned, who is, are they saying Hawthorn's got to pay this money? How can Hawthorn compensate itself by paying itself, or is the AFL going to pay this out of consolidated revenue?
No. If you believe Carolyn Wilson's story, and she rang me last night and said she was going to run this story over the next few days, wouldn't be writing it immediately, and I've rang her this morning, or sent her a message. She just misleads people the whole time. But according to her story, the AFL is demanding that the Hawthorn Football Club pay all of these people. Now, the Hawthorn Football Club is made up of members like myself, and I don't want my money, my membership fees, being paid out for things that we have not done.
Yep.
It's just absolute madness.
So if they decide that you are going to pay, then what? Do you take some civil or legal action to say this is not right?
Well, I'm not on the board of Hawthorn any longer, and I don't know what the board's thinking is, but if they agree to make these payments, then in my opinion you set an awful precedent, where a body that answers to no one, being the AFL, can then decide that you are going to be penalised when you've done everything possible in accordance with the AFL rules. So it's just absolutely absurd. So I hope the board, and that's if they've got this letter. I still don't know whether the AFL has made this demand, but if they have...
You hope they resist.
I hope the board stands up for the members.
Good.
You don't pay compensation for anyone when, in fact, you've followed the rules. And
Right.
you've tried to make sure that you have a safe workplace. That's all Hawthorn has done. The crime, if there is a crime, has been committed by those who leaked the report. They were the ones who named the three ex-employees of Hawthorn. They're the ones who have made their life particularly difficult, and I'm sorry for those three people and their families.
Absolutely.
But for goodness sake, we need a bit of clear thinking. And if the AFL want to proceed down this line, I think it opens up a can of worms in terms of how organisations, clubs might have to act in the future.
Yep.
Because you might be found guilty and you might be penalised or attempted to be penalised when in fact you've abided by the rules all the way through.
All right. Now, as we leave you, I know the answer to this question, but has Mark Knight ever characterised you in unfashionable appearance of you, either as a premier or as a president of the Hawthorn Football Club? Have you ever had a caricature done of you by Mark Knight, and that was pretty humorous, but accentuated all your not inadequacies, but all your characteristical appearances?
Samuel, you're stumbling now, aren't you?
I am.
I can't remember. I'm sure he and every other cartoonist have had their day with me over time. And I don't mind how anyone portrays me, to be quite honest. I'd rather they portray me with a gladiatorial sort of body as opposed to the one that I've got, if you know what I mean.
I do.
I'd like them to falsify my current frame. And I don't care how they show me, to be quite honest. I mean, the one thing we need in life is a bit of humour. We need a bit of storytelling. And I think the Mark Knight cartoon was fine. It does.
She's become a bit precious. Do you think the new Premier has become a bit precious?
Well, I think what Mark Knight was trying to propose is that, she was the minister responsible for the Commonwealth Games. She's given 100 reasons why they didn't go ahead and what she knew and what she didn't. So she is naked in terms of the way in which the public accept her explanation.
And the Emperor's new clothes, that is nothing to do with her per se. That's an old saying, an old standard saying. The Emperor's new clothes and these trying.
I know.
Yep.
I know. I think these days, particularly if you're a public figure, particularly if you're a political public figure, then you've got to expect that people are going to take the mickey out of you from time to time.
Yes.
Particularly if you're not consistent or you're not providing the responses that the public understandably expects you to be able to provide.
She said he sexualised her.
Oh, no. Well, there was nothing sexual about that cartoon, I can tell you. Nothing sexual at all, and in fact, she's a nice lady. She's a good-looking lady, and she always dresses neatly, etc. But that was, I don't know how you could say that was sexual. I mean, there was nothing about it that was sexy in my mind.
No, absolutely. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat to us on You Cannot Be Serious.
Right, so thank you, Samuel.
Very good, man. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I don't know where we were. Are we off? Yeah. So I don't know where we were when Jeff rang in, but that was very good of him to ring in. And I don't know where I got the idea that it was a 4-page document, but
that was on the news. Yeah, it was on the rumour file.
Yeah. What about Caroline Wilson? Never. Don't start. How many stories does that person either get wrong or have to be corrected? This is a fact. I can read. We've done this before. She's had awards taken off her for. It's just extraordinary how she remains employed by anyone.
She might live along the lines of just get the story out, and whatever collateral damage is.
Yeah, how ethical and responsible is that? Right. Anyhow, that's it. So I don't know where we're up to. Maybe we could. We were speaking about. Well, I got on to Mark Knight, and we did the dog. And we did me getting GoFunded to Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
You got any more GoFundMe pages?
No. Well, I tell you what we did notice. All right. So talking about sport. Now, I was flicking through the channels. How low and how stupid can people get who put shows together? Have you got onto the pillow fighting? There's a pillow fighting... pillow fighting, what is it called? A
pillow fighting.
Yeah, they get in a boxing ring, there's crowds, and the bloke introduces them, they come out with pillows, and you have one hand behind your back, and you try and belt someone over the head with a pillow, and they give points for it. They have judges. And they have the ring girls get in with the round 2. It's who thinks this shit up and who watches it besides me? I thought I was gobsmacked.
There's another one you should be watching. Now,
pillow fighting.
I don't know
How about
whether
pillow biting? Or they should have a pillow biting for people who do a pillow biters. That would be more interesting than the pillow fighting. But
there's one
if you're
where
a pillow biter, join up.
No,
There's
one where people slap other people.
That's
Have
right.
you seen that?
Yep.
So, and the best one's the girls.
Yeah, open hand slap as hard as you can.
Jeez. Yep.
What is wrong with people?
But they're called the quirky sports. So it's like even turtle racing, and you can race
It's
turtles.
not really going to be Olympic.
Turtle racing.
Yeah, well, the quirky sports that you do.
Yeah, turtles get on their back; they won't be going far.
Yeah. All right, what time was that on?
Well, I was flicking through, and I tell you what I got onto. I like watching the Major League Baseball in the States. When they have the World Series, the only people who play baseball are the Americans, how they call it the World Series. And have you noticed every single shot of people, they spit? Because they've stopped them chewing tobacco now, but they chew gum. And every shot, you see them sitting in the dugout, you see the pitcher, they always spit. They're always spitting stuff, spittle coming out of there. Every shot they just spit the whole. How are you allowed? How does the body who runs Major League Baseball allow the players to spit? Particularly when COVID was on, they just used to. You watch it; it's just a continual barrage of spittle coming out of everyone's mouth.
Yep.
What? No other sport in the world I know. People have to spit.
Spittle.
Spittle.
Never heard of that one. Spittle.
Spittle is. Haven't you? Spittle. Well, I'll look here. Look, while you're,
is that a word?
Of course, it's a fucking word. Spittle. Look, pillow fighting. You want to get onto it? Seriously, who does this? I'm just looking up spittle for you, Sue. So just because this is an educational.
I think you just make these words up and then we just agree because we think we're dumb.
Read that out. Go on, read it out. Go on, read out the word.
Spittle.
Yeah, go on.
Saliva, spit.
Go on, the next bit. A frothy.
The frothy secretion excluded by spittle.
That's right, a frothy secretion, not excluded, a frothy expition excluded. It's someone who spits. That's what spittle is. That's like saying you chew your food, you masticate it. Masticate.
Masticate.
Yes, you're familiar with that word?
No.
Gosh, what's wrong with you? Ivan, look at me. Look at those vacant blank eyes. Masticate.
I jump up and down really well, but...
S.
I know what it is.
You know what
you.
Oh, you're winding me up. Well done. Masticate. Masticate means to...
I just like looking at you.
Oh, no,
get the Google machine.
I've typed it in incorrectly. It says take the top off, you make yourself ejaculate. No, I've spelt that incorrectly.
I think you have.
Hang on. To chew. Masticate is to chew.
Thank you for that.
Right. So, all right, so Major League Baseball, ridiculous. The spitting.
They didn't have Wally the alligator, the...
comfort animal.
Yeah.
So here's a question, Ivan. So you get on the plane to go over to the war zone just in the name of a holiday extravaganza there, for dodging landmines and rockets, and there's a bloke sitting in, you saved up your money in business and you're over there up the front there and you've just had the Krug champagne come down and some nibbles and some butterfly wings and aspic jelly, and a bloke gets on, he's got an alligator over his shoulder sitting next to you and the thing's snapping at you. And you say, excuse me, and you press and the hostie comes out, or the in-flight attendant, and you say, what is going, honey? He said, no, this man's taking this comfort animal on the trip to Egypt with you. Yep. And you say, you'd be fucking joking, wouldn't you? And then all hell breaks loose. And he will probably be within his rights, and you'll be ejected off the plane.
Back down to the back row, economy.
Wally and the cockhead, the cocksmack who's got the alligator, they ride first class. The alligator snapping at everyone and defecating on
masticating its food.
Masticating, and what was the other word we used? Spittle. Yes, spittle coming out of its crocodile jaws.
From the hosties spitting at me, telling me to get down to economy.
No, they'd tell you to keep going and get off the plane because you've created a fracas. All right. Well, now look, we're going to.
Do we have a guest today?
My word, we do. We'll tell you who we have today. We have a man who's spent most of his adult life in jail because he's a professional bank robber. And he's an interesting, I suppose I haven't robbed any banks.
No.
Just wonder what the you must be some sort of adrenaline rush. I mean, you race motorbikes and I drive cars, and someone dives off the high board down at MSAC. Robbing a bank would get your adrenaline up. Anyhow, he's turned his life around, I think. We'll find out if he's turned his life around, but we're going to speak to him when he comes in. And there was something else I was going to say. I hadn't finished doing the shout-outs, so we'll do them next. We're going to have a break. And we do appreciate Jeff Kennett coming in because...
he was in the car, wasn't he, when he was speaking to us? Well,
I don't know, Ivan. How did you deduce that?
Just from the...
clarity of the broadcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, you would have been fascinated when Neil Armstrong spoke to Richard Nixon in 1969 from the moon. That was in the...
Did he really go there?
Well, there you are. That was the... he was sitting in the Eagle. The Eagle had landed on the moon. And would you like me to tell you what Richard Nixon said to Neil Armstrong on the moon? And because he put the phone call through. It might have been in a paddock out in the Arizona desert. We don't know, but assuming he's on the moon, Richard Nixon said this. Because there was Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. And this is what he said. Hello, Neil, Buzz, I'm speaking to you by telephone from the Oval Room of the White House, and I just can't tell you how proud we all are of you. For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And as you speak to us from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to bring peace and tranquility to earth. And for one priceless moment in the whole history of man, people on this earth are truly one in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you'll return safely to earth. This is Houston out. That's what he said.
Sounds like a little bit like W.C. Fields.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a very good accent. And of course, when Pearl Harbor happened, who was the president of? Was it Truman?
Roosevelt?
Yeah, it might have been. He said, it was Roosevelt. And this is what he said to the American people. He said, on this day, December 7, the Emperor of Japan made a ruthless attack on our positions at Pearl Harbor, but we of the great democratic force shall unite now to push them back for all time and forever. I hate war. My wife Eleanor, she hates war. Even our son Jimmy likes his peace. No, I put through that in. So on this day, December 7, 1941, the United States of America has declared war on the Empire of Japan. Right, so that was just a little bit of history for you. So here we are, we're winding this up.
Did you learn that at school?
No, I learned
God knows what goes on in that brain, isn't it?